Welcome to Board Game Binge, the place where we bring you bite-sized, bingeable board game content from across the industry. I'm your host, James Staley, and in this episode, we're chatting with Tom Hughes and Patrick OCallaghan from Space Duck Games. Next week, Space Duck Games is launching their newest title on Kickstarter, Factory Floor, a 1-to-4 player polyomino tile laying game. Tom and Patrick are joining us from Ireland. Tom, Patrick, welcome to the Binge. How you doing?
Thanks for having us.
Hi, James. Great having you.
Oh, it's great to have you guys here. Now, I first saw this game, I think a couple months ago. I saw the initial graphic with the artwork, and I got excited. I actually used to work in a factory a number of years when I was younger, helped put me through school. And as soon as I saw that, of course, it piqued my interest right away. And I tell you, the artwork is awesome. I love it. So let's get into this. Where have you guys? What are your day jobs? Where'd you guys come from? Where this all kind of come about?
Do you want to kick off, Pat?
Sure. Yeah. Well, well, we're both based in Ireland. I work in animation, actually. So
Okay.
my day job is in animation, mostly like a storyboard artist. I mostly work in like TV animation, mostly European, occasionally like American, mostly like preschool, that sort of thing. So been doing it for just over 10 years now.
Wow.
Love it. It's great fun. Lets me draw all the time, so I'm happy out. That's me.
That's gotta be a skill set that's come in handy for doing artwork on a board game, I guess. Like if you already know kind of the animation style, certainly that's got to help you with your preview videos I've been watching, which are awesome.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, big time. Like it absolutely has like a lot of transferable skills. I think the recruiters would call it. And it's been really handy. Like suddenly, you know how to make things move and like make it look hopefully nice, to people. And it's really and try to sort of like find a way, like find character, find personality, find stories, find something that maybe appeals to people. I think.
Yeah, I'm always fascinated by the actual creative process, right? So I was watching one of the videos you did where it shows like a time lapse of you drawing like one of these factory workers.
Oh yeah.
And the first sketch starts off and it looks like a shape of like a bean, right? And then there's more sketches, and you're cleaning it up and you see this thing, it's almost like clay kind of coming together and forming into this character. Yeah,
totally. And I think that's it's you're kind of in the jungle, and you're just sort of trying to find your way through, sometimes every once in a while you have this thing that it's like the lines are glowing out of the page and what you want, but a lot of times, and it's important, like for any sort of like budding artists or whatever that are out there, so like a lot of it is just digging through, just trying to explore, and sort of start rough and then until you find like a North Star, and it's like, okay, now I know where I'm going,
it's like the image is there and you're just bringing it out, right?
It's like
got to kind of dig and find
it. Yeah, from the fog. Yeah, exactly. Or like like Ace Ventura coming out of a rhino. It's like it's just
exactly.
It's like one way or the other. Yeah, it's graceful that way.
What about you, Tom? What's your background?
Me, from about 18, I got into the games industry, the digital games industry, hibernated in there until a year or two ago, and then moved over to project management. But I'm doing the analog games now instead of the digital ones. Trying to make games for that we'd like as opposed to what other people would like, I guess. Yeah.
And have you found that it's interesting to see that evolution, right? Because I think anybody looking back, certainly I was of this mind frame. If you go back to like the 90s, I mean, the board game industry was dead, right?
Yeah.
You had, a few players is all consolidated as your classic monopolies and risks and things like that. Everybody was moving the game consoles. And now here we are today, and the industry's exploded. And was that a surprise to you when you saw kind of that shift going back the other way? And is that what kind of pulled you in, or was it more just a passion for board games from your past?
I don't know really. Like I remember when I sort of saw board games really starting to take off again. I remember getting really excited about it. I'm sure like a lot of your listeners, like, it's just, with that love of, that memory of board games and things and playing with my mum and dad and stuff. Just the idea that there'd be new and exciting stuff coming all the time. was really, was really sort of was something that I got really buzzed about. But I just, I mean, they're saying now is about 1,000 game releases a year, something like that.
Or more. Yeah.
It's great.
Have you found it almost like a reprieve from the day to day? It's kind of like, when people are working on a computer all day, for instance, the last thing you want to do when you get home is get on a computer. Is this the kind of thing that's kind of allow you to kind of detach from the digital side and kind of get more into the tactile and the tangible?
When I'm doing game design at the moment, I will avoid Tabletop Simulator or something like that for as long as possible.
Oh, really? Okay.
It'll be cardboard for me all the way, just because I want something tactile in my hands. Yeah, no, it's just so much. It's so much nicer just getting to a table, I think. Because especially with multiplayer growing so exponentially, like you could be playing with people, but you're not next to them. You never might find out who they are. Whereas with board games, they're there with you, which is great.
Yeah, the digital side can never replace the interpersonal, right? It's that exchange of energy between people, and the laughter and so forth, and reading off each other's body language, and just the fun of the moment. I don't know if you'll ever be able to replicate that on the digital side.
Yeah, and it's as much about the experience of playing the game. There's so many games you play, and it's kind of, obviously you're competing, but whether you win or not isn't the primary goal. It's looking back at things and saying, look what I built, look what I did, look at the routes I took, and talking about it together. I think that's unique to board games over digital games. There's much more of a drive, especially multiplayer games, digital games, there's a drive to, I want to win, whereas with board games it's, I want to play,
unless you played in my family growing up, and then it was a play to win. Play to win and fighting. Yeah. So how did you guys meet? How did you guys get connected?
Well, it was a dark and stormy night.
We actually so I moved over to Ireland about 8 or 9 years ago, I think. And Pat was already a member of an improv comedy troupe called Kill the Monster. And
well, we actually met in No Drama, and
we did. Sorry,
we were both part of an amateur drama group, because we've both done theater in the past, for fun. And
we both played the same character in a play
in different plays, but in different stagings of the play. And then after that, I think we both have a passion for improv comedy, so apologies if some of the comments are just ad-lib, stream of consciousness stuff. It just kind of just happens like that for us. But then I think we both well, I was part of a group, and then Tom joined, but we bonded over time. I think actually the key for us in terms of like the space doc was that I think Tom saw that I did some artwork for the programs for one of our plays, for one of the No Drama plays, and I think he said, oh, he's an artist, I'm a game designer, I need an artist, so he bought me a coffee, and things have never been the same again.
Were you into games before that, Patrick? Like, were you in the industry at all? Or?
In the games industry, yeah. I mean, like sort of industry wise, no. I was in animation, so I worked that. I mean, I was always been into games. Okay. Obviously, growing up, I liked board games. Obviously, I'm nowhere near as sort of like, say, hardcore as Tom would be, But I enjoyed games. I enjoy that community aspect, the fact that it brings people together in this table, and it gives you something to talk about, and then, and it brings people together, and then you crush their spirits, so they crush yours, No, but it's great fun. And then I would play some games that have always been part of like my life in terms of like video games, not like sort of, they don't take the whole of my life, but they're always part, they're always part of it. And
how'd you guys come up with the name Space Duck Games? Like, where'd that come from? What's the genesis behind that?
I think it was just, it was probably improv. We just sat and threw stuff at each other, wasn't it?
We were throwing names around, and I had heard this name because I don't know if you remember a few years ago, like NASA discovered this asteroid.
Yes, you're dead right.
You know,
yeah.
It was this sort of rubber duck asteroid. Rubber ducky shaped asteroid. You know, that was whatever 6 million light years away or whatever. And I think the guys at NASA called it Space Duck, and I think I thought, well, that's the name of a company if I ever heard one, at least in games. So I think we were throwing things around, obviously things that were playful or goofy and a little bit absurd, and Space Duck kind of sort of fit the bill for us, and I'm fond of ducks.
Pardon the pun.
Cool.
And where'd the idea for this game Factory Floor come from? How did that idea kind of start?
Well, so like I'm a massive fan of polyominoes, particularly like tile laying games. I think is mine and my wife's sort of go-to by default.
And for those people listening that may not know what that is like taking like tiles that are like Tetris shape, right? Mm-hmm. And laying them on the board and fitting patterns and trying to fill things in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Isle of Cats, who you had on last week, I believe. Patchwork.
Patchwork's another good one. Yep.
New York Zoo. That's another new one that's out and things. Feast of Odin, I think, is the earliest one I can remember.
Yeah.
But I'm sure
Tetris is the very first one, I guess.
Well, yeah, there you go. Tetris. So me and my wife loved polyomino games, but we didn't, sometimes we just want to fill a game. Sometimes we've got 20 minutes or so, and we just wanted to bash something onto the table, and we didn't have anything at the time that kind of fit that bill. So the idea is okay, well, how can I create a player experience where there's you've got 20 minutes to do something nice and tight. And that was sort of the starting point. I knew it wanted to be a sort of polyomino game, but then it sort of leaked into this idea of, well, a lot of polyomino games focus on where the tiles go on the board and set collecting and things like that, which is a lot of fun. But I wanted to kind of try out sort of how the different types of rooms, as we're using them, the tiles, how they interact with one another, and it just kind of really grew from there, really. Yeah. And it naturally became a factory. It just made sense after a few playthroughs.
Okay, so you had kind of the design with the tiles and so forth, and then from there, based on the structure, that's then when the theme kind of came afterwards. Then,
yeah. I mean, I suppose it's the the eternal argument for designers is does the theme or the mechanic come first for you? And I tend to lean more towards the mechanic. And I think I was talking to Pat about it and saying, it could maybe be about, I think I mentioned a garden patch, or you mentioned a garden patch or something like that. And then I think you drew the first minion, the first worker. And from there, it was just bang. Okay, that's that. We've got it now. And it just, it was never going to be anything else after that point, really.
So for those listening, I'm just going to share my screen really quick for those that are actually watching. Take us through how to play this game. So obviously the artwork is awesome. I love the look of these characters. It pulls me into the theme right away. But how do you talk about how you play it?
Yeah, I love the artwork. It's he's knocked out the park again, has Mr. OCallaghan. So there we go. The way the game's played is it's you draw tiles from a bag, you pop them down onto the table. Everyone has exposure to all of those tiles and can see what they want to play. You've got your factory floor, which is 96 tiles in size, and across 5 days, an AM and a PM shift, and the ability to do 2 actions of a given day. You pop down tiles and you hire workers. So there's 3 tile types. There is the production tiles, which just give you more score through the week. There are quality control tiles, and if you manage to get more, the more production tiles you get around them, they give you sort of a multiplier in terms of score at the end of the week. And then the other thing, which is a lot of fun, is this idea that you can hire workers as well. So there's staff rooms for you to hire workers, and then you can put those workers into your production facilities and multiply their generate even more.
So you can get more workers as you go. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's one of the real sort of nice things about the game is when you start, you're right at the score tracker now, and you think, like, after the first round where you've scored like 4 or 5 points, you're like, how could I ever get to 100? And then like you just get this snowball effect of more and more and more points. That's really engaging. So more workers, more production. It's the capitalist machine turning. It's good fun. Yeah.
I love this idea of the different shifts and how it mixes up between the different shifts and the different days. And just for clarity, so the board you're playing on is you each have your own board, or is there? Okay, so you each have your own board. So it's not like you can mess up the other guy's factory.
No, it's I suppose it's very Eurogamey in that sense.
Okay.
And like the only the only way you can screw other people over is nicking the tile they wanted to, basically.
Oh, so almost like an Azul, you're choosing from a pool, I guess, right? And if you grab something and you can, if you want to be that guy, you can try to grab one that your competitor needs. You don't necessarily need it, but he needs it more than you do. But you're going to take it to kind of prevent the score. If you want to do take that, I guess.
If you want to be that guy, you're more than welcome to be.
And I thought the scoring to me felt a little bit like King Domino. Is that a fair kind of comparison? How you have like the crowns, and the more crowns you have on a tile, then that multiplier can.
I guess so. I mean, that's the sort of there's a bit of set collection as well in King Domino, I think, isn't there? And,
that's true.
We lean away from that. So it's not, obviously the more production tiles you have, the more points you score. But it's more about how the different tiles are interacting with one another, as opposed to the same tiles. Like having a big staff room isn't going to score you more points. Having lots of staff rooms dotted all over your board is going to score you more points. And it's the same with quality control.
And does it come with a bag?
Yes, it will come with a bag. Yeah. I think it's our first stretch goal is a nicer bag. So it comes with a simple flannel bag, and then it becomes a much nicer linen bag, I think.
And I saw some of the stretch goals too. So I mean, your workers here you have are Meeples, and I got the benefit of being able to see your page before it goes live. So thank you for letting me see that. But I thought it was really cool, and I won't share it here, but is that you can you'll have custom characters, right? So you guys, further up in your tiers and your stretch goals, you have the opportunity to get like these custom shaped Meeples, correct?
Yeah. Do you want to take this one, Pat?
No,
Characters are yours, yeah.
Well, no, that's yes, that's right, James. Like we start with your standard
Meeple.
The standard Meeple, but hopefully, as we go along up the levels, tiers, and then hopefully, we'll get to be able to fund some sort of special cutout Meeples. I think there'll be up to 4 different types of bespoke Meeples, as it were. This will be Meeple shaped. They're just kind of like cut out with an illustration. It's not like minions, a 3D. Yeah, exactly. It's not like a 3D mini or anything.
That's still cool. I mean, I can speak to the design. Mm-hmm. They look cool. I love them.
Yeah,
and then there's a solo player mode. Was this something that was there from the beginning, or is this as a result of kind of COVID? There was a thought that maybe we should put a solo player in here as well, or what was the thinking behind that?
So I was always, making the board game, I always set out to make a good multiplayer experience.
Yeah.
And then I sort of looked at this. Well, is there an opportunity for a solo game here? Because I don't just want to slap something on that doesn't feel good or anything like that. And then we started to sort of delve into this idea of actually having a puzzle book. I mean, you've got these Tetris style pieces. If you're into that sort of game, you're going to enjoy puzzles probably. So let's really push that. And so there's a campaign of 15 scenarios at launch. There's a few more through through stretch goals and things like that. Mm-hmm. But there's a picture that tells you, okay, set the board up this way. Now you have this number of turns, and these are the tiles you can use, and that's what this is what you have to try and achieve. So there's hopefully a different sort of variety of play there. So they're really sort of puzzly and surprisingly difficult, but rewarding if you do manage to get through to it. Yeah.
Well, I think obviously the recent world events, I think now more than ever, there's a need for games to come with a solo mode. We're seeing it a lot more frequently in talking to a lot of my colleagues that are in the process of developing games. A lot of them are putting some forethought into, okay, let's make sure there's a solo mode here, just because, I mean, I can speak for Canada. There's been some shutdowns. I used to go to a meetup group, great, and a shout out to the Newmarket board gamers. Great meetup group, great social night. We did it once a week. That hasn't happened for almost a year now. Yeah. Right. So, you're stuck at your house. Yes, you've got your family members you can play with and so forth, but having that mode that you can play on your own, I think is key, especially when people are looking for different ways to entertain themselves in a time like this. So I think it's awesome that you guys have a solo mode included in your game. I think it's just fantastic.
Oh yeah, I completely agree with you. It's COVID has been, and it's no better in Ireland, by the way. It's we're very heavily in lockdown at the moment. It was definitely, and there's an impetus there to sort of look into solo modes, it's great to be able to do that.
Now this Kickstarter target's fairly modest. I can say I saw it in Canadian dollars, which I think was about $6,200. Is it in euros, or what's your target in right now?
Our target is $5,000 US.
$5 US. Okay, $5,000 US. So again, very, very modest target. What was some of the thought process behind having a target so low? Was it cost based? Was it based on being able to inject your own funds into the development, or was it more kind of just making sure you had something that people could feel comfortable that this game is actually going to fund?
Yeah, so I think for me it was a process of looking at what's out there, looking at what's needed and things like that to achieve our target after we went out for a few manufacturing quotes and things like that. It was sort of, okay, well, what can we hit where we have a little bit of a buffer for our backers and things like that to make sure it all goes, as well as it can do. But we can actually get it out to people. I'd rather, obviously, if 500 or 1,000 people decide they want the game, I'm very happy to give it to all of those people. But if we get a couple of hundred people that decide they want the game, I don't want them to be stifled from getting it, because it's a more. I know that we're a newer company on the block, and there's we want to sort of understand that people need to learn who we are and understand that we're going to get the game out to them, and it's going to be a fun game, and hopefully build our community up from there. And so maybe less modest goals in the future, but certainly early on is modest.
Well, I gotta tell you, I'm a fan when I see a Kickstarter campaign where the goal is based on what is the bare minimum they need to make this viable. I'm a fan of that. I'd rather see that than a campaign where it looks like it's a money grab, right? Where they're like, 30, 40,000, which maybe in some cases that is, truly would be the cost. But there's some games where that they don't cost that much at the very, very base level. It's more of a money grab. And, the ones that I seem to see really crush it in this industry are the ones that come in with that modest goal, saying, we want to make sure we can get it out the door. We want this to get into people's hands. And then, if people love the idea and they jump on and we way overshoot that goal, then great. We're more than happy to do that. But in the interim, let's make sure we get this copy in some people's hands. So that was kind of cool to see that. Now, this is not your first Kickstarter. You guys ran another one. I think it was called El Presidente about 5 years ago. That one didn't fund. But it was picked as a top pick by Kickstarter, which is huge, right? It's very, very difficult. No one knows what the secret is to be chosen as a top Kickstarter pick. You guys got it, and it still didn't fund, unfortunately. But for me, I'd like to understand from you guys, or what are some of the learnings that came out of that? Because clearly, you've gone through this once before, which is good. It's not your first trip to the rodeo. And there's some learning there, I'm sure, that you've been able to carry over to this campaign.
I think for me, there's two levels of learning. There is the Kickstarter side, and then the development process of the game itself. And on the Kickstarter front, it's simple about the, Kickstarter isn't there to give you the crowd. You've got to find the crowd before the game comes around. And I think we were a little bit naive to that, maybe.
Crowdfunding versus crowdfinding.
Exactly. Yeah,
they're crowdfunders, not crowd finders.
exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, it was the eternal optimism, with 12 hours to go, that we were suddenly going to get another 100 backers. Which you do naturally, because you've put your heart and soul into the game for months and months and months leading up to it. But I think also for me it was a high tag game. It was I think it was €59. So it was because it had a lot of components to it and things.
Yeah,
so it was a huge game, really, for a starting project, I think, because we didn't have any reviews or anything like that. So all people had to go on was blind faith in us. It was a gorgeous game, though. The artwork in it is I have hanging in my house because it's that nice. But I don't know what, Pat, you felt with the development process as well.
Yeah, I think that I usually say that it was like, I think we wanted to make a feature and we hadn't made a short, and it was this sort of thing that, okay, well, how to do games, I know how to draw, let's call ourselves an institute, and let's do it. And and to some degree it worked. I think we worked really well for some, and some of it really worked very nicely. But yeah, for sure, like we the scope in terms of like the amount of assets, the individual elements of design and things like that, it was large, and at least for first game. And then sort of, in terms of like the development process, we were like developing the game and rebalancing the game, and every time we rebalanced the game, suddenly we had to go and like change a bunch of artwork, so it wasn't very like well streamlined. So we were kind of sort of like, it always is great to sort of like feed of each other, but at the same time, we probably there was a lot of energy consumed that maybe didn't have to be consumed in that way. In terms of like, okay, suddenly the map has to change, and then we have to move everything around, and then obviously that takes a couple of takes X amount of time, and or suddenly we have to like reevaluate these things. So like so obviously that maybe burned time that maybe could have been spent in like promoting the game better. I think we definitely fell in terms of like the promotional side, the marketing side of it. We were very like naive in that angle.
Well, as first time in, there's always going to be learning, and sometimes some of the best learning is a tough learning, right?
Yeah.
Is it a game that you guys will launch at a later date? Like, did you kind of shelve it for now, but you're going to come back at it? I mean, from my perspective, the videos and everything you guys did were very, very polished, right? It was incredibly well done, your Kickstarter page. So it seemed to me like the promotional element is probably the piece that was missing the most. It'd be a shame to see that not come to fruition at some point. So is that part of the longer term plan, is to eventually bring that back, or?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely like, I always, we kind of sort of holding a flag for it and trying to sort of like bring it back, sometimes you think, well, maybe we revamp it, maybe we make it Presidente 2099 or something, and it comes in the future. Like, but I think it would be nice to sort of bring it back. Obviously we'll have a look at it, and obviously there's experience and knowledge now, so we might update. Obviously we'll take the chance to like update whatever parts of it we think, but it would be nice to bring it back now that maybe we know, hopefully we have a better knowledge of what the roadmap is. I think that, to use an analogy, I think sometimes like the hardest win is your first win, because you don't know how to get there, once you achieve that, then you're going to have a sense of, okay, well, this is the steps that I have to make, before you get to that first sort of achieved target, achieved goal. Then you're uncertain, you're trying to do everything, but you're not sure if this is the right thing. When it kind of pays up, or when it works out, then you think, okay, now I have an idea. So So, and like I think Tom did a great, sort of had a great plan in terms of factory floor, in terms of the design and the scope of it, to make, because I think what it is accessible. As you said, it's something that can be out. It can go out the door, and and I think it's it's a good game, but it's accessible to like sort of new players, or like like it's easy, it's fast, and I think it's something that people sort of can take a chance on it with us.
I like games that are called gateway games, right? And that's essentially what it is if you're playing game night, and we often do this when we're playing game night, the intent is to play probably 3 or 4 games.
Yeah.
We only have so many hours in the night, right? So we usually like to start off with something a little bit quicker, build up to something that's a little bit medium weights, then we'll, longer playing game. And then if there's time at the end of the night, then we'll go back to a shorter playing game. And some of these kind of gateway games or casual games, the Zools of the world and so forth that are Euro style are great games to kind of kick off the night or kind of wind down. You have new people coming over that are maybe not as heavy into board games that you are. These are the kind of games I like to pull out, right? To say, hey, let me just introduce you to this new game.
Well, I mean, we're all pushers at the end of the day, aren't we? Anyone who's into the hobby is always trying to pull the next addict in.
Oh, of course,
into the hobby as well.
Oh, so, yeah, absolutely.
Come on, all the cool kids are doing it. Yeah.
And that's why this industry keeps getting so big, is because it is so addictive, right? And people do get pulled in, but it's these kind of games are the ones that get them hooked, right? So when I see a game like this, it just gets me excited. I love the artwork again. It looks like a ton of fun. This Kickstarter comes out, I believe, next Tuesday, right? Yeah. And so how do people best get notified, right? If they want to either back this Kickstarter or help share about it or talk about it or even follow the journey, how best do they do that?
So there's a couple of routes. Probably the simplest is, if you're on Kickstarter, is just go onto the upcoming projects and search for Factory Floor, and you'll find it there. If you want to sort of join our mailing list, we'll update on there all the time. You can go to spaceduckgaming.com.
Okay.
And that'll also give you details about Factory Floor as well. There's a few videos and things on there. That's probably, we've got a Facebook page you can join as well. All the usual good stuff. But
Space Duck Games on Facebook, and we have a Twitter and Instagram, so you can find us, Space Duck Games, Space Duck Gaming.
And is there a link to the notify page? So if somebody wants, because I know like Kickstarter is a little funny that way, right? It's tougher to search for a game if it hasn't actually been launched yet, right? So there's a preview link that's available, but to get it, sometimes somebody has to share that with you. Is that link? How do people find that link? Is it linked into your website or into your Facebook page, or where would they get that link?
I think it's on everything.
Okay.
I don't think you'll miss it. There is a project URL for a preview, but we'll it's tagged onto everything, or if you click into anything, it'll take you to the page. So.
Yeah, like if you go to our website, Space.Gaming, anything that has Kickstarter on it, you click on the image, it'll send you right onto the link.
Nice.
They notify. Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, I just want to thank you guys for your time. Thank you for the people actually that joined in to listen. We got Karen, we got JD Brown, Richard Mack actually just said he loves the game. He's now a backer. He's going to be a backer. So, you know what, guys, I wish you the best of success this coming year with this campaign. I think it's going to rock. It is right in the sweet spot, I think, for people that are looking for a game like this. All the best, and you guys take care.
Thanks
so much.
Cheers. Take care. This has been an episode of the Board Game Binge podcast, hosted by James Staley, produced by James Staley and Mike Bruner, with original music by Nick Smith. If you would like to watch these interviews live, simply join the Facebook group Board Game Binge, and you'll get access to live interviews, giveaways, and interesting board game content from across the industry. I can't wait for you to join us. See you next time.